It was a cool Friday morning when a farmer and his two friends were out working in the field and noticed something odd. They had no idea they were about to make an incredible discovery. Mornings are usually the best time to get tough jobs done. The air feels fresh and you've still got your energy. So on this particular Friday in 2015, James Bristol decided it was time to dig up one of his soy fields. He'd been meaning to do it for a while, and that morning, two of his buddies came by to help. Around 7:30 a.m., they met at James' place and headed out to the field together. They joked around on the walk there, already imagining how good it would feel to relax after the work was done. But what they didn't know was that their day was about to take a wild turn. None of them could have guessed that they were about to uncover something so rare it would end up at the University of Michigan. As soon as they got to the field, they got right to work. About 20 minutes in, James hit something solid with his shovel. He paused, then shouted for the others to come over. "Hey guys, there's something here. Come take a look at this," he yelled. The three of them gathered around and started clearing out the area where James had hit the object. It was hard to see through all the mud, but they could already tell this thing was huge. At first, they guessed it might be an old fence post, maybe just bent out of shape. But within minutes, they realized they were way off. Soon they managed to dig up a massive bone. At first, it was still covered in dirt, so they weren't sure what it was. But once they cleaned it off a bit, they realized it was a rib bone, and it was enormous. James stood there in shock, trying to process the fact that something this big had been under his field all along. After a few seconds, the surprise started to wear off, and their curiosity took over. One of James's friends even started laughing and joking around, claiming they'd found a dinosaur. He picked up the bone, ran around the field, and yelled, "Here comes the dinosaur. We found a dinosaur." Well, it wasn't a dinosaur. But if not that, then what was it? Not long after the men started shouting, James's young grandson heard the commotion and ran down to the field to see what was going on. When my 5-year-old grandson saw the pelvis, he just froze. His mouth dropped open, and he couldn't stop staring, James said. The little guy was clearly amazed. The men still didn't know exactly what they'd found, but they were certain it was something special. At the time, they figured the rib bone was probably the only one buried there, but they were in for a big surprise. There were more bones still hidden underground, a lot more. Since they had no way of figuring it out on their own, James and his friends decided to contact the paleontology department at the University of Michigan. They knew this was bigger than them, and they were right. Before long, a team of experts arrived at the field to investigate. Don Fisher, a professor of paleontology and head of the university's Museum of Paleontology, came along with the team. The moment they saw the rib, they could tell what it was. But instead of saying anything, the scientists just stood there in silence, staring. James and his friends exchanged confused looks. They were growing impatient. They didn't say a word, and I figured they were just trying to piece together how it could have ended up in my field, James said. Finally, after what felt like forever, Dan spoke up. He said he had an idea of what the bones might be, but he believed there could be more buried nearby. He asked if he and his team could dig deeper to confirm it. I told Dan they could dig, but I was honestly nervous they might be wrong, James admitted. The team got started right away. They had just one day to uncover as much as they could. 15 staff members from the university rolled up their sleeves and got to work in the muddy field. They also brought in local help, an excavator named James Ballinger. No one knew what they might uncover, and that made the whole experience feel like something out of an adventure story. As they worked, the crew came up with all sorts of ideas about what the bones might be or what might happen to them. But one big question kept coming up. How in the world did these bones end up on James' farm? Then, right in the middle of their digging, one of the workers suddenly yelled out. Everyone rushed over. He pointed at something huge sticking out of the soil, a massive tusk. That moment changed everything. Now they were all sure there were more remains down there. Don Fisher had been right all along. With new energy, the whole team picked up the pace. James remembered. Once they found the tusk, Dan looked at me and finally said the bones might belong to a woolly mammoth. Dan also shared that he hoped James would consider donating the find to the University of Michigan for research. He explained that the mammoth probably lived somewhere between 10,000 and 15,000 years ago. He also guessed that hunters might have taken it down. There was even a mark on the rib that looked like it had been butchered. But then the men wondered aloud, if it had been hunted, why didn't they eat it? Why bury it instead of selling it or using it? None of them had the answer yet, but they were determined to find out. That's when Dan explained that ancient hunters might have placed the mammoth in a pond to keep the meat from spoiling, a kind of early way to preserve food. Meanwhile, the digging continued. The team stayed hard at work, hoping to find more pieces of the puzzle. After hours of digging through the soy field, they finally uncovered something truly surprising. Along with the pelvic bone, they found a skull with 2 massive tusks, ribs, part of the spine, and both shoulder blades. It was an unbelievable sight. Dan called it one of the top 10 most important discoveries ever made in Michigan. Even though the skeleton wasn't fully complete, it was still in remarkable condition. The only major parts missing were the hind legs, feet, and a few smaller bones. And the fact that they were able to recover so much of it in one piece meant scientists might learn more from this find than from any other mammoth remains they'd studied before. Though it looked like a woolly mammoth, Dan explained that the animal may not have actually been woolly. Based on the features, he believed it might be a Jeffersonian mammoth, a rare kind thought to be a mix between woolly and Columbian mammoths. These types showed traits from both species. No matter which type it was, one thing was clear. This was a rare and incredible find. Word about the mammoth spread quickly around the area. Curious neighbors and visitors started showing up at James' farm to see the bones for themselves. We had people drive out from Battle Creek and Jackson, James shared in an interview. They come into Chelsea, stop somewhere to ask for directions, and then head straight here. He added, "We had teachers, kids, parents, and even grandparents come out. Just this morning, we had a man in hospice come by to see the bones. The reaction has been incredible. So what happened to the mammoth skeleton in the end? James decided to donate it to the University of Michigan. What would you do if you were in James's position? Would you be willing to part with such an amazing discovery? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this story interesting, give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who loves learning new things. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more amazing real-life discoveries. Thanks for watching. See you in the next.